Hello everyone, today is 29th of February, Thursday, now it's 20 to 9 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and the news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, but before I start, let me thank all of you for your attention and support, and I have a very good reason to be thankful because, this small media project of mine survived yet another month, which is great, and of course it would not be possible without your support, so thank you. And also, dear friends, I am thankful even more because recently we reached quite a milestone, at least for me personally, which is that views on my YouTube channel reached 2 million, and right now it's 2,072,199, which is I understand for big channels, big names, this number may mean nothing. They may have every other day millions of views, but to me personally and for this small media project, it is quite an achievement. So thank you again. You are a great community. And I appreciate your attention and support. Thank you. That being said, let's talk about news now. And I will start with short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. And let's go sector by sector because there is quite a number of updates. And first of all, Kherson direction, where yesterday, according to Russian media reports, Ukrainian armed forces tried to conduct marine operation or amphibious landing operation in Kherson region, in this area here. And this is a Tendorsky Spit, that's the name of this area, I guess. And Russian side was tracking movement of this Ukrainian amphibious force, and eventually, once they reach coastline, they were targeted. Some 20 soldiers of Ukrainian special forces were killed during this short battle, and 4 boats were captured of those Ukrainian soldiers. And only one boat with some military personnel managed to escape. Not the first and definitely not the last attempt of Kyiv regime to conduct this media operation. And I'm saying media operations because usually what Ukrainian units do, they're reaching Russian-controlled territories in the Black Sea, and making some photos, videos, and fleeing as fast as possible, but and most of the times unsuccessfully. They are tracked usually and destroyed. And very same happened in this case also. And as I said, some 20 Ukrainian special forces soldiers were killed, and only one boat managed to escape. I share on my Telegram information about it, some photos of captured boats and neutralized military personnel of Kyiv regime. So you can check my Telegram channel if you want to see those video and photo confirmations. And when it comes to other hotspots on the Kherson region, of course, Krinky, by the way, Krinky remains to be a hotspot in this area, where Ukrainian forces still are maintaining some foothold, but yet again, it's just a few soldiers. In digouts, in basements of whatever is left. Nothing that can be seen by Russian forces as a threat. It's not even foothold anymore. Ukrainian units basically retreated to the islands in the Dnieper River, from Krinky area. Situation is under full control of Russian armed forces, of course. When it comes to Zaporozhye sector of the front line, and lately Zaporozhye sector, Russian Defense Ministry counts Zaporozhye sector also as a part of Kherson direction. In Zaporozhye sector, main hotspot is still Rabotina. Ukrainian units try to conduct some counteroffensive in Rabotina area, but this counteroffensive was repelled, and well, surprisingly, we still don't have information about continuation of Russian offensive in Rabotina area. I mean, Russian forces in quite short time managed to establish control over the southern part of the village, and now are in the central half of the village is controlled by Russian forces, and then Russian units stopped advance. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. Maybe Kiev regime sent too much reinforcement in this direction, and it will take some time now to neutralize those Ukrainian units before continuation of offensive. Maybe there is some other reasons, but whatever the case, Rabotina is still disputed between the sides. Also, by the way, Russian forces were conducting strikes yesterday in area of Belagoria village. Maybe some Russian offensive is in working to encircle Ukrainian units in Orekhov bridgehead. That's a possibility, or maybe that was just a separate operation. Some Ukrainian units were spotted and then targeted. It is possible. When it comes to South Donetsk sector of the front line, Russian forces are active in direction of Ugledar, by the way. And yesterday, videos were circulating on internet about heavy airstrikes in Ugledar direction. Russian forces are active again in area of this Vremevsky salient, and the Urozhaynaya settlement was targeted, or Ukrainian units were targeted in Urozhaynaya settlement, and it is quite possible that in upcoming days, maybe weeks, Russian side will regain control over this Vremevsky salient and all the settlements there, all the small settlements there, whatever is left from them. And by the way, we don't really received any additional information about Novomykhailovka or Paraskovievka, although Russian side holds initiative, and Novomykhailovka is disputed right now between the sides. But we had a very interesting update about Krasnogorovka, which is on the northern side of Marinka, and Russian armed forces yesterday conducted somewhat surprised attack offensive in direction of Krasnogorovka, and according to some reports, this territory here, this area on the southern side of this railway is under full Russian control right now, and that this is latest reports that we have. Of course, we need some video and photo confirmation about it, but even big military channels reported on this progress of Russian militaries, so it must be correct information. Also, dear friends, in Donetsk and Avdiivka direction, we have major updates, which is that Russian armed forces established control over the Orlovka village on the northern western side of Lastachkina or Avdiivka itself, and also, by the way, Russian forces established control over the Toninka. So more and more channels are now reporting and confirming information that both these settlements, Toninka and Orlovka, are under full Russian control now, and the Russian offensive continues. And point is that it seems like Ukrainian units were unable to make new defense lines in these areas, and therefore they're just physically unable to stop Russian advances. Also, by the way, you might be surprised, but some military channels are reporting that Russian forces established control over the Berdichi also. Berdichi village, which is right next to Stipove settlement. This is also northern flank of Avdiivka, and if this news is correct, by the way, and this Berdichi is under full Russian control, and we probably can talk about total collapse of Ukrainian defense lines in Tonika, Orlovka, Berdichi sector. And then if you look at the area, it's open terrain, by the way. It's open fields. Ukrainian side has no strong defense lines in this area, and basically Russian armed forces, if they had order on large-scale offensive operations, maybe will march with its offensive until the Dnieper River. So situation is getting critical for Ukrainian forces, 100% in this area. And also when it comes to Donetsk sector of the front line, yesterday military channels reported that Russian armed forces further improved their positions in Krasnoye village or Ivanovskaya, on the western side of Bahmut, and at least half of this village now under Russian control, according to reports of some military channels. Also big, important or significant progress on Chisovyar direction, because after Ivanovskaya or Krasnoye will be fully liberated by Russian forces, and it will not take long, I guess, because seems like Ukrainian defense lines are collapsing in this area also. Then I guess Russian side will shift its attention to Bogdanovka settlement, and of course towards this district of Chisovyar under the name of Canal. I'm calling it Canal, by the way, and I guess that's how locals are calling this area also, but I mean that's where this area is located, on the eastern side of Canal itself, water barrier, let's say. And well, when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, there was no reports about any more or less significant changes. In Kupiansk, in Seversk direction, sorry, but we had a significant updates on Kupiansk direction and Terny, by the way. This settlement is formally, even though it's quite close to Yampolovka, which is Sovdan, Krasny Liman sector, Terny formally is a Kupiansk sector of the front line, and according to some reports, Russian military personnel are inside the Terny right now, inside the Terny village. I did not see any photo or video confirmation of this news, but many channels are reporting on this quite a big progress of Russian forces in this area. And also there were some reports that Russian armed forces established control over the Makeyevka village on the Zhiribets River, but well, I'm a little bit skeptical of this news. Without photo or video confirmation, hard to tell, but it is possible. It is possible because, as I said, it seems like Ukrainian armed forces, at least in certain areas, are just giving up fight, and Ukrainian defense lines are collapsing. So yes, this is it for now. I mean, when it comes to Kupiansk sector of the front line, of course, Sinkovka is still one of the main hotspots, but for at least several days now, we did not receive any updates on Sinkovka. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Of course, military channels will provide a greater volume of detailed information about these local scale skirmishes, local scale changes on the line of contact, artillery duels, missile strikes, and so on. And if you are interested in much more detailed information, I recommend those military channels, and under this video in description box you can see at least several of military channels if you are not familiar with those channels, including Military Summary, by the way, one of the biggest military channels that there is. So yes, this is when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Now let's go through some other news. And dear friends, I'm going to constantly check on the length of this video. It's already 15 minutes, and I will try to make this update 25-30 minutes. I may have some additional news to report about, but I will stop recording anyway, and those additional news will go to for second update on my Patreon, because many of you are asking to make videos, make updates like 25-30 minutes, and I'm definitely gonna try. So TASS news agencies report that according to Rogov, head of NGO We Are Together with Russia, this NGO is active, very active in Zaporozhye, in Zaporozhye region usually, but because Zaporozhye sector now is a part of Kherson sector, he is reporting about Kherson direction also, and he confirmed basically information that we have about this failed attempt of Kyiv regime to conduct this media operation when almost entire unit of Ukraine's special forces were destroyed while they were attempting to reach Russian controlled coastline in Kherson region. RIA Novosti's report also that Peskov, press spokesman of Russian president, commented on a recent statement of Prime Minister of Hungary, Orban, who said that Hungary will be happier if it will have no direct border with Russia. He repeated himself because he said something similar before also, and Peskov said that Hungary should not be worried about Russia, because Russia is not a threat to nobody, to no country which will act friendly towards Russia and which will act adequately, which is true, I believe. And in addition, by the way, even though Peskov did not spoke about it, but let me share with you this map. I shared this map several times before, and well, this is formally the area of Ukraine's Soviet Socialist Republic as it was in USSR, and this is western regions of Ukraine. And this area, by the way, this brown colored area is Transcarpathia region. Transcarpathia region that will most likely becomes under control of Hungary and will join Hungary after full-scale disintegration of Ukraine, because these areas used to be part of Hungary before First World War. After First World War, this territory was given to Czechoslovakia, and after Second World War, Czechoslovakia basically was forced to give up these territories in favor of Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. That's how this area ended up in Ukraine. And of course, during the full-scale disintegration of Ukraine, this area will be returned, I guess, to Hungary. And if you take a look at the map, still Hungary will have no border with Russia, because this blue area here, it's territories, former territories of Poland. And Poland will definitely try to re-establish control over these areas. And Romania will probably try to establish control at least on the northern territories that used to be part of Romania before Second World War. I don't think Russia will allow Romania to regain control over the southern territories that are now in Ukraine and part of Odessa region, but northern part, yes, most likely. And as you can see on this map, by the way, Hungary will still border Poland eastwards, but not Russia, because Russia will establish control over the rest of the so-called state under the name of Ukraine. And So Orban can sleep peacefully. If he don't want Hungary to have a direct border with Russia, Hungary will definitely not have direct border with Russia, because even after full-scale disintegration of Ukraine, Hungary will border Poland, northeast side, and Romania on the southeast side. So yes, that's how I see situation. And even though Peskov did not say that much, he did commented on Orban's statements and said that Budapest should not be wary about Moscow, because Moscow will never act aggressively towards any country without being provoked, which is correct, by the way. I mean, take a look at the history. Take a look at the history, even recent history, by the way. After collapse of Soviet Union, did Russia conducted any military operation without being provoked? I don't think so. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Ukraine demands compensation from Poland over dumped grain several days ago. Of course, many of you are familiar with this news. I also reported on this topic in my updates. And several days ago, Polish farmers that are blocking highways and the railways that are connecting Poland and Ukraine, farmers opened some wagons with the Ukrainian grain and dumped this grain on the ground, and this way disrupted basically transportation of Ukrainian agricultural goods further westwards. And some 160 to 180 tons of Ukrainian grain was dumped this way. And Kiev is demanding now compensation, but seems like Warsaw has very different plans. And according to some reports, Poland and Ukraine are now in talks about closure of border, temporary closure of the border, so that no goods whatsoever, no agricultural produce whatsoever will cross Polish-Ukrainian border. I guess Warsaw is trying to somehow calm down its own farmers this way, or maybe something else is going on. Maybe something else is going on, but that's information that we are receiving from number of media sources here in Russia, that Warsaw and Kiev are in talks about full-scale closure of a border between the two when it comes to transportation of agricultural produce. RIA Novosti, or anything at all. RIA Novosti's report also that, well, I did spoke about this in yesterday's live, during the yesterday's live stream on my Rumble channel, that Transnistria asked Russia for help to deal with the blockade that was imposed on this unrecognized republic by Ukraine and Moldova. And let me show you on the map, by the way. So Transnistria is here. This is Moldova, former Soviet Republic, and Transnistria used to be a part of Moldova in Soviet era, but when Soviet Union collapsed, Transnistria declared its independence. There were war between Transnistria and Moldova, and well, Transnistria established itself as an unrecognized republic, but self-governed republic. And now, because Transnistria is landlocked and borders just Ukraine and Moldova, both countries, by the way, Moldova and Ukraine are proxies of the Washington, NATO. Transnistria is in extremely difficult situation. It's in blockade, and Moscow was asked for help, and Moscow reacted on it. And the Russian Foreign Ministry made a statement that Moscow will do everything possible to support people of Transnistria, whatever that means, by the way, whatever that means, because once again, if you take a look on the map, this is a landlocked territory, and to reach Transnistria, Russian armed forces need to at least conducted some military operation, landing military operation in Odessa region, and open up the corridor, land bridge from sea to Transnistria. Of course, Russian Federation has its military personnel in Transnistria itself, but it's just it's a small group of forces. It's a really tiny group of forces. I don't think that grouping will be able to break through the sea from Transnistria on its own without assistance of Russian armed forces from the Black Sea. But because recently there was reports that Moldova is preparing military operation against Transnistria. There was report that Moldova basically green-lighted Kiev regime to conduct military operation against Transnistria. Things are escalating in this region, and I would not be surprised at all if Transnistria will ask Moscow for to be recognized as an independent state, and may Moscow will recognize Transnistria as an independent state, and in that case Moscow can sign agreement with the Transnistria about mutual protection, and if any side will attack Transnistria, in this case Moldova, because with Ukraine Russia already has military conflict, if Moldova will green light attack on Transnistria or directly attacks Transnistria, then Moscow will take action. Moscow will have legal means to take actions against government of Moldova and Western controlled government of Moldova and other proxies of NATO in this area. So things are escalating, and well, let's see what will happen next. Today, by the way, President of Russian Federation will address National Assembly, and I think during his speech he may spoke about Transnistria also. It's possible, and he will speak about this topic also, most likely, which is that France, by the way, is acting immensely, incredibly irresponsibly these days. First, President of France made crazy statements about sending their troops into Ukraine to not allow Russia to defeat Kiev regime. Then, well, Prime Minister of France made statements in support of Macron. Foreign Ministry of France made a statement in support of Macron, and we have now additional statement from Prime Minister of France, who is saying that French militaries in Ukraine could support Kiev regime to protect borders, and to conduct some training, and also to protect Ukraine's skies. So basically to operate with their defense systems, maybe even to try to impose no-fly zone, some kind of, if French Air Force is also deployed. Yet another step towards further escalation. At this point, I guess these people, Macron and his prime minister and his foreign minister, they really are out of touch with reality, and are posing danger for everybody, really, for citizens of France first of all. And I believe it is highly likely that Russian president will address this issue of possible deployment of French forces into the battlefield, into Ukraine, to combat Russia. And today, 12 o'clock Moscow time, I believe this address of Russian president starts to National Assembly. And of course, I will report about his statements on my Telegram channel. And if anything extremely important. I mean, of course, speech of Putin will be important, but if anything extraordinary will be said, I will make some additional video update also. If he will recognize, for example, Transnistria, or if he will come up with such an initiative, for example, or if something else, in terms of something else, historic, or whatever. If something else very important will be said, of course, I will also report about it. And let's check length. Oh, it's 30 minutes already, by the way. So I will report about this news, and I will end this update on that. RIA Novosti's report that China come up with initiative that is addressed to nuclear countries, to sign an agreement about not using nuclear weapons first. And well, sometime in the past this agreement may had some support among majority of nuclear states in this world, but right now, in current situation, I don't think Moscow, for example, will support this idea, because Russia is basically in a conflict with the West, with the collective West. Well, President of France is openly saying that NATO troops may be deployed in Ukraine to combat Russia. And in such a situation, when Russia faces basically entire NATO in this conflict, and it is at least theoretically possible that NATO will send its military personnel to combat Russia. In this situation, of course, Moscow will, may end up in a situation when it will use nuclear weapons first. Because it's obvious that Russia cannot defeat entire NATO with just conventional weapons. It's just not possible. I mean, it only takes a little look at the numbers. NATO represents over a billion people. NATO represents like 10, 15, 20 times bigger GDP than Russian. Number of times bigger economy and industrial capabilities that Russia. So it's obvious that Russia alone cannot defeat or cannot defend itself against NATO with conventional weapons only, and will be forced to use nuclear weapons, undoubtedly. So therefore, this initiative of China would not fly even in Moscow. Otherwise, it's an interesting initiative. And what is also important, this is, I believe, first time when China come up with some initiative when it comes to control of nuclear weapons. Usually, China is standing out of any agreements that were signed previously in previous decades between nuclear states, nuclear powers. And by the way, this is it for now. I will end this update to make sure that video is short enough. Hopefully you will find this episode interesting, useful, informative, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and share video links to my videos or my channels on from YouTube, Rumble, on any of the platforms that you are actively using. And for very same and by the way, if you think sorry, I'm a little confused, and if you think this project is okay and deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which, by the way, I will share rest of the news that I had prepared today during the second news update. And well, that's it really. You can see all the links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. Have a great day and take care.